I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Education in the Ballston Spa Central School District for April 19th, 2023. Please rise for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone and just share that in case we needed to evacuate this room for some reason, the emergency exits are behind me in each corner leading outside, and the exit that leads out into the hallway. I would like to welcome everyone who is here in person, welcome those who are watching on the live stream. I'd like to start the meeting by hoping that everyone in our school community had a relaxing and refreshing spring break. It is great to see that our educational and extracurricular activities are fully back in action. For those who stayed local, there was some great weather. For those who traveled, I hope you also had good weather and travel was without incident. Last week, I myself was driving in a suburb of Phoenix, Arizona, and I passed a middle school with a big banner along its fencing advertising that bus drivers were needed and please apply with a number and an address and another please apply on it. It's a reminder that many challenges in public education are not unique to Ballston Spa or our area and occur in many states across the nation. In that line of thought, there has been some publicity and social media postings in the last few days regarding a resolution on the agenda tonight. The resolution is a decision on an appeal made by a community member for whether a book should be on our high school library shelves. I just want to outline a few pieces of the process here for folks who might not be fully aware of what's going on. The board has a specific policy, number 8320, in place that regards the selection of textbooks, library materials, and other instructional materials. The board also has a specific policy, number 8330, which is an objection to instructional materials and controversial issues. These policies are the guidance and the background for how this resolution has come about. Policies are available for anyone to access on our district website under the Board of Education drop-down menu. Specific to the book in the resolution tonight, I want to make it clear that the book in question is a library book. It's available as a reference or resource for any student who voluntarily wants to access it by checking it out or reading it in the library. It is not part of any curriculum or class, nor at any point is it a required reading material for any student. As our policy 8330 describes, parents, caregivers, guardians who may have a concern are always encouraged to reach out to the media specialists in the case of a library book, and to the school principals in the case of a library book or a classroom book or material, to get more information on the educational value for the book or material and why it is used or available. And I will leave further comments on this matter to when our resolution is motioned for consideration later on in the new business section of our agenda. So first on our agenda tonight is recognition. Dr. Duca.
Thank you. We have a few pieces of recognition tonight. The first one, I'd like to congratulate all our Odyssey of the Mind teams who competed in the state tournament this past Saturday. And a special congratulations to the amazing Problem 4 Division I team that placed second in the entire state. and will be representing Malta Avenue Elementary School and Ballston Spa Central School District at the World Finals Tournament held at Michigan State University in May. So we'll hopefully be having them to a future board meeting so they can kind of elaborate a little bit more on their accomplishments, but congratulations to all those teams. Very well done. Next up, we have Mr. Rasmussen from Wood Road, who will be recognizing one of the librarians from the district.
Thank you, Dr. Duca, members of the Board of Education, for giving us a few minutes here tonight. To me, especially to recognize my librarian at Wood Road, Heather Thomas. Starting several years back, we began a partnership with the Ronald McDonald House and their Read for their charity, the Ronald McDonald House Readathon. It's led to some really fun principal challenges along the way, but importantly, it exemplifies the spirit of giving, which in our school is something that we hold as a core value for us, and something we impart to all of our kids, that we truly believe that it's better to give than it is to receive. For those of you that don't know much about Wood Road, demographically speaking, our students are not the wealthiest. We have a fairly significant number of free and reduced lunch students that come to school each and every day, from some great families and some hardworking parts of our community. And what I'm very proud of is even in that, we have such a spirit of giving, and that's part of the leadership and the demonstration that we've given them. And in particular tonight, I wanted to recognize Heather Thomas, who I think is going to recognize some of the work that our students have done this year and over the past years with this really, really awesome charity. So, Ms. Thomas.
So this kind of journey started 3 years ago for us at Wood Road when I was approached by a colleague who had suffered kind of an undescribable tragic loss in her family. And the Ronald McDonald House played a huge role in her family's support and recovery during her family's loss. And I couldn't say no when I started talking to the organizer, Nancy. It was just a great program, something that we could easily implement, with videos and papers that will home with the kids and ideas for them to read. So we kind of went with it. Part of it is having a principal challenge. So fortunately, Mr. Rasmussen is always up for a good challenge, which really excites the kids. But through all of this, they have learned a lot. I have one in particular student. She was a kindergartner when we started. She's in 2nd grade now. She has for the past 2 years come to me in September and said, "Are we doing it again?" And I said, "Oh, yes. You got to give me till March, but we're going to do it again." She just gets excited. So I had a quick conversation with her today, and I said, "What is it that you like about it?" And she's like, "Just that we can help somebody, that we can go beyond and help." It wasn't about the reading, which I'm like, "So what did you read this month?" It wasn't about Mr. R's challenge. It was about the fact that she, as an 8-year-old, has this power to help somebody. And I believe that she's individually has raised over $3,000, in her own 3-year journey. So, go to the next slide. Is it? This year, we just got our grand total last week from the Ronald McDonald House, and one more click, I think. And we raised just shy of $7,000 this year in our little school. We had 57 students participate, which was an awesome number. We've gone up every year with the number of students that have participated. And when I started reflecting on the past 3 years, I started realizing that these kids they're excited about this program. We talk about what they're reading. We make the whole month of March about reading and the love and the joy that we can find in books. And I started thinking I'm like, wait a second, we've been doing this for 3 years, and I know our first year we knocked it out of the water. Our first year we raised over $10,000. Which was insane. And then our 3-year grand total, we've raised over $23,000 at Wood Road for the Ronald McDonald House. And the credit goes to the students because they take the lead on this. I'm just there to kind of guide them and say, show them the videos, make them aware of what the Ronald McDonald House is. And through all those conversations, it's been uplifting that many of them, fortunately or unfortunately maybe, have actually used the Ronald McDonald House. We've had a couple students that have had cancer. We have a student that's had a kidney transplant, that they've used these services. So they become very aware of them, whether it's the Ronald McDonald houses or the facilities that are in the hospital. So they have really taken a liking to it, and 2 of them did ask about Mr. R's challenge next week. So Mr. R is going to be doing some karaoke for us next week. Last year,
It's not an open invite.
we'll do some videoing though. Stuart will be there, right? We'll make sure he's there. I'll give you a time and a date. So again, we look forward to doing it every year. I get very excited every year. We kind of set a goal. We always surpass it this year with $5,000 and 50 students. So we very easily hit that goal. Every week those kids come in, and every week we show a quick minute video that the Ronald McDonald House sends, and it just kind of lights their fire a little bit, and they go home and they charge through. They open up their own websites, and once they leave my doors, it's kind of all on their plate, and it's just a good, I call it my what I tell them, it's my heartwarming event of the year, because it gives you all the good feels, and they truly enjoy it. So, and we have to thank Mr. R for always being up for the challenge, because that's what they do look forward to. So, all right, thank you very much.
And I just
What?
want to thank Mrs. Thomas, because it really, despite what she says, it's a lot of work for her.
It is,
And
but-
it's not something that she has
Yeah.
to do, it's something she loves to
Yes.
do. So all the thanks and all the credit go to her.
Yep.
She also did mention that I think we finished 6th in the region.
Yes. Which
Which is a very large region, and to have Wood Road in the
Yeah,
company of
fun.
some of these other students from the communities that they come from really speaks to the work that Ms. Thomas puts in, and really what I care about most is the sense of giving that our entire school community of Wood Road has, and Ms. Thomas keeping that alive is amazing.
There were 64 schools in the capital region this year, and we were 6th, or maybe 8th. We were in the top 10 out of 64 schools, so that's a pretty amazing feat for our fun building. So, all right.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Any questions or comments from the board
sorry.
members?
Anything?
Can I make a request for karaoke?
Oh, the kids have that down. There's been lots of them.
But
so.
we'll listen.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, there we go. That'd be a good one.
Thanks you.
All right.
Is absolutely wonderful, and certainly as part of your promotions of your success, please make sure you share links to the Ronald McDonald House website so that some people can find out more information.
Okay.
If they don't quite know it. It's quite the amazing
It is.
organization.
And if you've ever had a chance to go down there and visit, they're always very welcome to, it's a very busy place. It's actually 3 houses now connected, so it's a very, very good place. And our top 3 students this year get to go do a tour, so that'll be nice.
Yes, it is wonderful. Many people have a connection
Yeah.
to the house. And besides the house, which is a facility where people can stay if their child is in the children's hospital, they have a roving dental mobile that goes to schools and brings dental services to students in Albany. And it's just a wonderful place. So
It's a good place.
it's, again, great, any information we can put out for it. And thank you both very much. Thanks to all the staff who
Yes,
have a
it's
part of it, all the parents and community members who are part of it as well.
Yes, yep. All right, thank you.
That concludes recognition.
Okay, thank you. Next up is our first public comment session. Thank you. Okay, so we have quite a bit of public comment tonight. At our meetings, public comment is where the privilege of the floor is given to members of the community. I just want everyone to understand that, we ask everyone's cooperation in making sure that everyone is heard. I will read guidance that I read at every meeting for it. The Board of Education welcomes district residents, parents, and other interested persons to its meeting. Community involvement at board meetings is encouraged so that the board can better understand and represent the views of its constituents. Please be aware, however, that information such as individual student information or particular personnel issues cannot be discussed at public sessions of the board. Speakers will be called upon individually. When recognized by the board president, will be asked to approach the podium and state your name and residence. And particularly this evening, please take a moment to adjust the microphone so that when you speak, you can hear yourself coming out through the speakers, so that we, again, can make sure that everyone can hear you and our live streamers at home can hear as well. Did I read this already? Approach the podium, state your name and residence. Statements are restricted to a maximum of 2 minutes. So at the 2-minute mark, I will ask you to please conclude your remarks. I know some other nights when we have fewer speakers, I may be a little bit more generous with it, but because we have quite a few speakers tonight, please try and keep your remarks to 2 minutes. The board and the district staff take your public comment very seriously. However, the board will not respond to comments or questions during the public comment period. Please make sure that you address the board as a whole and not any individual board member or any individual district staff member. The board asks the public's cooperation in maintaining our safe and respectful environment, and the board president reserves the right to limit individual comments if it is deemed necessary. To achieve this, speakers will please not make slanderous attacks on any group, organization, or individual, a member of the board, an employee of the district, a member of the audience, or a member of the public. Please do not use profane, vulgar, threatening, or disparaging language, or racial or ethnic slurs. And please, I'd like no disruptions of the meeting with loud outbursts or other disruptive conduct of behavior, either during a speaker's assigned time or at any other time during the meeting. Speakers understand that a failure to comply with these rules for maintaining a respectful and productive environment may result in early termination of the speaker's allotted time, a denial of future requests to speak, and any other actions deemed necessary by the president of the board, or, where appropriate, in terms of health and safety measures, the superintendent of schools. So we're going to take a moment to make sure that our camera is on the podium. And Chris Dubuque, will you approach the podium?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Chris Dubuque, Kaleen Drive. Before my time starts, I will be honest, I'm going to be covering some material that may be a little graphic in nature. I know there are a few individuals in here under the age of 18, so I'd like to just give a little bit of a leeway that if this material may make them feel uncomfortable, that they have a chance to leave the room, or anybody at home not to be paying attention, obviously. It, of course, relates to the book in question that is being voted on in Resolution 515, Genderqueer. So I'd just like to take 1 minute to give anybody a chance if they'd like to step out. All right. As I said, I'm up here to talk about Resolution 515. I want to address a few things in this resolution. Let's get the first elephant out of the room here. Where you had mentioned in number 3, the Board of Education determines that the book should remain in the high school library. The Board of Education finds this book is appropriate for the high school age group. Now, everyone in here stated that you read the book according to the resolution. You went through it and went through 2 reviews, 1 review from a separate committee, 1 review from this board. You can easily find this book on Amazon. If you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free. You can gain access to it. And one of the suggestions in there is the reading level is 18 and up. So I sort of question how that is high school age. I know everybody in high school is not 18 and over. So that's the first elephant I'd like to address. Now, I'd also like to address number 2 here, where you mentioned the Board of Education determines that the book provides informative messages on a variety of topics that could be beneficial to all readers. The Board of Education finds that the themes present in the book provide a unique viewpoint that enhances the overall library offerings for students. Now, I can't say what everybody in here is going to talk about tonight. I know there are a few people probably in support of the book, and there's probably a few people who are clearly in opposition to the book. I'm sure one of the things that will be referenced will be the graphic depictions on page 169, which the author is showing at one point where they are imagining themselves with a penis, and their partner Z at the time is performing fellatio on them. That's in one clip. And then the next box below, it is a strap-on sex toy. That is very graphic in nature in and of itself. But there's something else that came to my attention as I was going thoroughly through this book. I didn't want to get up here and be unprepared and not mention something that I found quite objectionable. And I don't know if anybody, when you went through and you reviewed it, you really noticed this, but Maya, the author, had stated at one point that they were interested in producing fan fiction. And I'm just trying to put myself in, 14-year-old shoes, or even in my son's shoes. My oldest son was gay and had a hard time with trying to relate to a lot of things in school.
If you can
It was a
conclude your
difficult time
remarks,
for him.
please.
What's that?
If you can conclude your remarks.
Certainly. So I want to put on page 159. That's awfully quick for 2 minutes. But this was on the top of page 159. Some of the research material that Maya used for fan fiction. If you look at the slide to the upper right, they mention they toured the San Francisco Armory, which at the time housed the filming studios of kink.com. So lovely that that website is put in there. I don't know if any of you, when reviewing this, first saw that website and then thought to look at it. Because what high schooler does not have a cell phone or does not know someone who has a cell phone or a healthy sense of curiosity? I went to the website. I won't show you the pictures on that website. It's quite clearly
If you
just
can
very
conclude,
inappropriate.
please.
Can I get my full 2 minutes, sir?
It is 3 minutes and 6 seconds, not counting your introduction
Okay.
at this time.
All right. So I won't go over everything on here, but obviously some of the sites on here, and again, or the subject material on here that I'm assuming Maya used for the research for fan fiction, everything from bound gangbangs, brutal sessions, device bondage, families tied, hardcore gangbang, hogtied, kinky bites, kink classics, kink features, kink university. I'll conclude on one
conclude
thing,
your
and I'll conclude on
remarks.
this. Somebody's got to be the adult in this room. This book can be in a library. It shouldn't be in a school library.
So, Board of Education Policy 1510, regular board meeting and rules, provides the opportunity for the board to respond in regards to matters of fact. And I just want to make sure that everyone understands that the reference to the website, everything that Mr. Dubuque just said that was on that website, those words are not used in the book itself, and that is a extrapolation, a step away from the actual content of the book itself. Thank you. Next, Mr. Scheer. Jim Scheer.
My name is Jim Scheer. I'm from Glenville, New York. I have a grandson in Malta Avenue School. Regarding your resolution to approve genderqueer for the library, I want to refer you to New York Penal Law, Article 25, which classifies obscenity in the third degree as a Class A misdemeanor, obscenity in the second degree as a Class E felony, obscenity in the first degree as a Class D felony. It defines obscenity as any material is obscene if A, the average person, considered as a whole, its predominant appeal is the pure interest in sex. B, it depicts or describes in a patently offensive manner actual or simulated sexual intercourse, criminal sexual acts, sexual bestiality, masturbation, sadism, excretion, or lewd exhibition of the genitals, and considered as a whole, it lacks serious literary, artistic, political, and scientific value. The predominant appeal shall be judged with reference to ordinary adults, unless it appears from the character of the material or the circumstances of its dissemination to be designed for children or other specially susceptible audiences. According to the proposed resolution, all the review committee have read Genderqueer. Have they read all the other obscene books contained in this room, which may also violate this statute? According to the statute, people who should be judging whether this material is obscene or not should be ordinary adults, which I interpret as parents and grandparents, not school librarians, superintendents, administrators, or review committee members. If you read this material and were not offended by at least some of it, you don't meet my definition of ordinary adult. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next, Celeste Shear.
I am Celeste Shear. I have a grandson at Malta Avenue School. I live in Glenville, New York. Continuing on what my husband had to say, the New York State Penal Law, Article 260.1, endangering the welfare of a child, states to act knowingly in such a way that is likely to cause an injury to the mental state, person, or moral welfare of a child 16 years old or younger. Federal Law 18 U.S.C. number 1470, unlawful to transfer of obscene materials to minors. We are closely following the Fairport Parent Alliance, who served the Fairport Board of Education and the superintendent on March 24th with legal papers against the district's surety bond for failure to remove obscene materials from their library and a book, Girl in Transition, that is required reading for 10th graders. They are using the New York State penal codes and the federal codes as a basis and have also given the litigation materials to the Monroe County Sheriff, the DA, and the local police. If the surety investigates and finds the district in violation of federal and state statutes, and the district does not remove the offensive materials, each board member and the superintendent are individually responsible for the entire amount of the surety bond. And if you think you have liability protection, you might want to think again. There is case law on this issue. 1973 Supreme Court ruling, Miller versus California, 413 U.S. 15, upheld the prosecution of a California publisher for distribution of obscene materials. Obscene materials are not protected by the First Amendment. Also, New York versus Ferber, 1982, was similar. And I just don't understand why this has to be in a school library. You can get over to the library and get it if you want, but why does it have to be where there are children? It's clearly porn, and I would be uncomfortable reading it myself. So I would hate to think of my children or grandchildren, well, my children are older, but my grandchildren reading it. I just think it's inappropriate. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next, Tim Bantham.
Good evening. I'd like to comment on Resolution 515 regarding the book titled Genderqueer. My comment is a show of support that the board has made the correct decision. I want to point out that the subject matter of this book needs to be viewed in complete context. This book is written as a memoir about the author's coming of age. The subject matter of this book literally could save the life of a gender nonconforming teenager who might feel a sense of comfort knowing that they are not alone in how they view the world around them. After reading the actions taken by the board as outlined in Resolution 515, I get a sense that the school board and the school superintendent have completed a thorough review and have done so professionally and with respect to all viewpoints. I am 100% confident that the board has made the correct decision in allowing this book to remain in the high school library. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next, Martina Bantham.
Good evening, Martina Bantham, Birch Tree Lane, Ballston Spa, resident of the district, parent of two Ballston Spa High School alumni. I am also here to speak in support of Resolution 515, the Gender Queer Book Review. I put utmost faith in our school professionals, particularly our librarians, for putting books in the library that are appropriate and of interest to the kids in the school. And I think that the board went through the appropriate process in responding to the parental concern here and doing a review and is making the correct decision. I think it's very important that we have books by writers of diverse backgrounds and identities, and books in the library that appeal to everybody. There are no doubt numerous books in this library that one person or another is going to find offensive for one reason or another. And censorship is not something that I can ever support, or canceling, or book bans. I mean, only in the most extreme cases, and this is not that. So that is all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next up, Karen Barone.
Good evening, board members. Karen Barone, Pleasant Street. I have a child as an 8th grader. As parents, we're constantly being faced with decisions about our kids. Get off of social media. Don't read that. Don't look at that. If I had more time, I would tell you about the 50 rounds we just went through about A Clockwork Orange in my house. Needless to say, he's not allowed to watch it. These decisions are subjective. They're made in the home because the home is where values are that are subjective to that family. That is where we use our background, our education, our politics, our religion to make decisions for our children and not for other people's children. A lot is going to be said tonight about appropriateness, about taste. Those are subjective. And luckily, this is not a referendum on taste, and it's not a referendum on whether or not you like something. It's a discussion on whether or not this book is educational. And all we need to be able to do is identify a hypothetical student who can grow intellectually, socially, emotionally, because they had access to this book. And if we can pass that litmus test, then I offer to you that this board has done its job, that this book is educational, it belongs in our library, and it belongs in our community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next, Raina Hughes.
Raina Hughes, Middle Street. I have a junior at the high school. I just want to start with a quote. Banning books gives us silence when we need speech. It closes our ears when we need to listen, and it makes us blind when we need sight, by Stephen Chbosky. I'm here tonight just to speak on the general idea of banning books. The idea that we would pull books off the shelves because of subject matter that is deemed inappropriate and improper is such a slippery slope. We are constantly talking about how times are so different than when we were kids, and as a parent and an educator, I live that every day. This being even more reason why we should not pick and choose what topics are appropriate to discuss and which are not. We need to be open to discuss any topic that may impact our children. Literature is meant to evoke emotion, create discussions, and grow minds. In this current climate, we should create a school environment where high schoolers can experience books that reflect who they are, inspire questions, promote meaningful discussions, and foster inclusivity. When we start to make decisions on what books are okay and which are not, we shortchange our students, we shortchange them with experiences and creating a feeling of rejection for those who may feel reflected in that specific text or story. I believe the home is a personal and sacred space to teach your own personal values and beliefs. We choose the literature that comes into our own homes. The role of public education is not that. Educators create environments that are non-judgmental, a safe space to ask questions, and create opportunities for young adults to question what might be uncomfortable, scary, or different. We cannot combine the two, and we need to trust that the educators we have in our district are student-centered, would not include any literature in our libraries that would be harmful, and think about the needs of all the young adults that walk through the doors. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Jason Severia.
My name is Jason Severia. I live at 936 State Route 67. On September 3rd, 2022, at 7 a.m., I met Jason Furneaux, the president of the Ballston Spa Board of Education, for coffee at Coffee Planet to discuss my concerns over the book Genderqueer and various other issues. This meeting was at Jason Furneaux's request, to which I agreed. A voice recording of this meeting was made for my reference. The recording is approximately 1 hour and 10 minutes long. Interested parties may request a copy of this recorded meeting to me personally. The full recording will be released to various media outlets in the Capital District at my choosing. The following is a transcript of a portion of this meeting. At minute 19, me. I wasn't happy that it had been the 60 days and then him saying that. It's like I am wasting my time, or am I being lied to, or just strung along? I don't like that feeling. Jason Furneaux. So you certainly were not wasting your time. The district took it very seriously, your objection. That was part of pulling the book from the shelves right away, was feeling there was merit to this. I'm as frustrated as you about the delay and the time and I urge you, if you're again unhappy with the committee's decision, to file an appeal, and let's go through that process. Me. Sounds like there's already been a decision. Jason Furneaux. No, not at all. I don't know. I'm telling you I don't know. And I'll also share completely off the record that if it does come up to the board was very concerned about the content of the book. Me. Yeah, it looked like Katie was going to throw up. Jason Furneaux. The board was very concerned about the content of the book. For this matter, all I can say to you is I think you should trust the process, and the book was removed the day after you brought it up. I think it's going to turn out in a way that we are all comfortable with and to our satisfaction. Me. I hope so. Jason Furneaux. This particular book, I think we're on the same page. I'll repeat that. Jason Furneaux. This particular book, I think we're on the same page. Me. Yeah, I was. Just the imagery. Like our kids, they have access to the internet 24/7. I hear the way that they talk to each other on the baseball fields. I'm not as concerned with the swearing and stuff like that. But when things are described in the nature, I mean, we don't have to. You've read the book. Jason Furneaux. I understand. Like I said, I think we're on the same path with this. So I hope that, again, I will inquire, and if the board isn't really involved.
Can you conclude your remarks, please?
Just a couple more sentences, Jason. Until it would come to a stage where the board would need to be involved. So again, I have no clue whatsoever what the discussion and the thought process is with the review of it. I really don't. I have no clue whatsoever, because it's not my role, it's not our role, but I will see what I can do to make sure that we get one. And again, you continue to do what you do with it, within what the process is. Again, we're on the same page with this, okay? Me. Yep.
Thank you for your remarks. Next, Zachary Brand.
Hello, members of the board. My name is Zachary Brand. I rise today to, hold on, let me start the timer. I rise today in support of the book Genderqueer and keeping it on our shelves. As a member of the LGBTQ community myself, I find it very, very I'm sorry, I have very trouble speaking, so it's very unethical to be banning books from our libraries, especially when it comes to knowing when we should be teaching our children that it's okay to be who they are, and who they are is okay. We shouldn't be telling them that it's not okay to be that way, and they should be learning every day everything in the world, and it's unethical to be banning books from our shelves. Reading books equals freedom, and the freedom to learn must be protected at all costs. So again, I'm glad that you have decided to keep the book on your shelf, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next, Megan Soden.
Good evening. Meg Soden, 34 Liberty Drive. I'm here to talk about Resolution 515, genderqueer. I've struggled to find the right words to talk about tonight, and how to say them. You know, I kind of went back and forth of, do I go for the shock value of showing you a picture, which I'm sure you've already seen from the book, or do I describe and read in detail some of the excerpts from the book so other folks can, the people that haven't gotten a chance to read the book? And I've determined that in good conscience I can't do either. Genderqueer is the #1 banned book. It's banned in more states in the US than any other book. So you ask yourself, why? Why is that? Well, because, quote unquote, it was considered to have sexually explicit images. The author of the book states that the intended audience, when writing the book, was for adults and older teens. She stated that herself. Furthermore, Australia's classification board found that the book not suitable for readers under 15. Consumer advice is given as M, mature, not recommended for readers under 15 years old. Amazon further stated ages 18 and up. With all this said, I ask why this book is in our high school library and why it's proposed to be kept. We have students 13 and up in our high school. My son will be 13 when he goes to high school. So I'm not talking about feelings here. I'm not talking about whether I agree or disagree with the book. I clearly don't agree with it, but I'm talking about age appropriateness, what the author recommended as that age, what other people outside of the author recommended as the age for distribution of the book and for appropriateness of that book. Just because we can,
please.
Yep, just because we can have this book in our libraries doesn't mean we should. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, Cameron McKay.
Hello. My name is Cameron McKay, and I am a senior here at the high school. And I live at 6 Florence Drive. I would like to start off with a comment from my mom, who couldn't make it tonight, but she has some thoughts that she would like to be shared. And I bet you can guess what I'm about to say, but it brings in a couple other things too. And my mom is Sarah McKay, and yeah. Poll the high school students and ask how many of them walk into the library and check out books on a regular basis. Poll them again and ask how many even know that the book Genderqueer is on the shelf. Our school board is spending too much time on an issue that the high school students are not even that concerned about. A book in the grand scheme of things that is not affecting them or their safety. The real issues that are affecting their safety are not being addressed by the district. Constant fights, vandalism in the bathrooms, drug overdoses, and students getting hit by cars 2 years in a row because of traffic flow issues. A book is not having an effect on kids' overall safety. Ask students why they do not feel safe in the high school. And I will say that I do agree with my mom, but I also have something I would like to say. Like I said, I'm a student here, and I will admit that I had absolutely no idea that this book was here. I had no idea that anyone was upset about it. I haven't heard anything about it, and I have read this book. I urge anyone in this room to sit and ask themselves if they have read this book cover to cover, because I have seen so many people who have been outraged and they've only seen someone else's opinion on it. They haven't given themselves time to sit with it and form their own opinion. So I urge everyone in this room, not just the board, to do that. Also, LGBT people are not a threat. Their stories are not scary, and I've grown up in this district. I've spent my childhood going to the school libraries. I freely admit that I have read this book. I've read it. I learned from it. I would not put it in the elementary school library. I would not put it in the middle school library. I admit that it is...
Conclude your remarks, please.
Yes. I give a suggestion. I recognize that for some people who may be more sensitive to this kind of content, I understand. Keep it on the shelves, but I suggest putting a warning if you are worried about it. Some sort of warning saying, hey, this has sexual or mature content, and that way the student can think for themselves. That is something we need to do, and it will let them do that. We do not need protection from books. We need protection from physical violence, and I don't think we're getting that.
Thank you for your comments. Next, James Warlikowski.
James Warlikowski, 105 Prospect Street. I've got 2 kids in the district. Talking about the replacement to Harvey and Jean Stalters. I was here not too long ago, and we had a great sending off for them. And to my knowledge, we haven't posted the job. I know that we have one guy that's already been helping out, and he's fantastic, and he has not yet been offered a job. I know we've got a head coach from another school district in Fonda that would love to come and help out. And I know we've got another teacher in the district that would also like to help out in some capacity. And to my knowledge, from what I've heard, nobody has been offered this job. We haven't been moving. Like this team, this was the best team that we've ever had. School history, it was incredible. We lost a few great guys, but I mean, these guys are still grinding. The day that the season was over, preparation for next year started. And these guys are moving forward without a coach right now. I mean, can we help that out, please? Real quick on this book, I'm not for banning books. I don't believe that keeping a book out of a school is necessarily banning it. However, I propose a compromise. Is it possible? Like, I haven't read this book, full disclosure, but I have seen the pictures in it, and I do have a problem with the pictures. Can we censor the pictures? Like, is that an option? Is there, like, there's all kinds of books and movies that you can get, like, watered-down versions of. Like, can we just get the graphics? Like, I don't remember seeing those kind of pictures in health class when I was taking sex ed. But, like, you know what I mean? All right, just think about it. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you for your comment. Jason Gertler.
Good evening, Jason Gertler, 99 Rollins Street. So it seems there's been a lot of buzz about a particular book in the library. Well, the buzz started on April 13th, 2022, and according to the minutes of the meeting on that day, a member of our community stated that he had middle school students. He raised concerns and voiced displeasure on the sexually graphic content in 2 specific books in the school's library. He read excerpts from Lawn Boy and Genderqueer and asked the school board to intervene and do something about the books being available in the district library. Here we are a year later. For context, The district removed the video stream from the archives of that meeting due to the explicit nature of the content that that community member read during that meeting. It does not exist. Why? Because the district deemed it inappropriate to be put out for public view. Sounds like a double standard to me. And as the gentlewoman earlier mentioned about morals, character, and decency, traits to be taught in the home, I agree. If you want a library book like this, go to the public library, where you have the ability to assist your child in making that decision. And I just want to speak a little bit to the community. This has never been an issue about sexual identity or sexual preference or gender. It has nothing to do with that. This is about the graphic images that are depicted in the book. Do you want to give it to your 14, 15-year-old? I don't think so. I know I don't. So again, I support everybody. It's not an issue against, it's not a war against anybody. It's about the book and the images that are depicted within and how immoral and essentially illegal they are to be held in the hands of anybody under the age of 18. I beg you to consider this when you make your decision. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Steve Galish.
My name is Steve Gillish. I live in the town of Milton. I've attended a majority of these meetings since August of 2021, and during that time I've made a number of observations that should be disturbing to all of us as taxpayers. This school is now spending $25,000 on each student per year. Do you realize that's 3 times what it costs to attend a SUNY school? Last year's state testing revealed that less than 50% of those tested in this very school were proficient in LEA and math. That's appalling. And yet, here we are talking about genderqueer. In May, you discovered it in our library, and so now a year later, nearly a year later, we decided that the board is fully going to endorse this. I'm a Christian, and I believe what the Bible says concerning how we should act about immorality and sexual relationships. Jesus had a very special place in his heart for vulnerable and children, and he said in Luke 17, "Things that cause people to stumble are bound to come, but woe to anyone from whom they come. It would be better for them to be thrown into the sea with a millstone tied around their neck than to cause one of these to stumble." Here's the takeaway. You're not only causing these children to stumble, to fall into sin, but you are bringing on God's full and complete judgment on yourself. This is not about banning a book. Buy it. Read it. Paper your walls if you wish. But don't expect me as a taxpayer to pay for it. I think that's unconscionable. In the meantime, I will never, ever vote for another school budget or a library budget in Ballston Spa again until this is rectified. If the school wants to buy it, let them take up a special offering and then buy it. But don't make me pay for it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Ann Sweet.
Good evening. Trying to adjust. Can you hear me? I'm still too short for this mic, aren't I? Okay.
Just if you
I'm gonna
get
lean forward.
close to it, we're good.
Good evening. My name's Ann Sweet. I live in the Village, and I have kids at Malta Ave and in the middle school. I, like many others, am here to address the board regarding Agenda Item 11G under New Business, also referred to as Resolution 515. While I personally trust our librarians and our educators and their training and their experience, I commend our board for having a policy and a process in place to address community concerns about instructional materials. I think our review policy is clear. I think it provides due process and transparency. I want to thank the board again. I want to thank the review committee, the librarians, again, the librarians, all the educators in our schools, and the administrators here tonight for their time and their energy and the careful consideration that you've put into this review. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. That concludes our first public comment period. Next on our agenda is our student government report, our student government representatives.
Good evening. We hope you've all had a wonderful break. I apologize for my lack of attendance. I'm a competitive dancer and we're in our competition season, so I have practices I can't miss. But I'd like to thank all of the student government members that have stepped in for me in my absence. Moving on Friday, student government is hosting their annual leadership conference in the library. Over 30 students are already signed up to be in attendance, and we will also be holding our spring fling dance from 7 to 10 on Friday as well. Tomorrow is the last day for purchase of tickets, so if you're planning on buying a ticket, please buy it tomorrow. Tomorrow's spirit theme is barbecue dads and soccer moms. Next Friday, the music department will be hosting the Suburban Council Music Festival. Finally, the middle school will be holding their international showcase and community projects on Thursday, April 27th from 6 to 7:30 in the middle school cafeteria. Thank you.
Any questions for our student government representatives? Comments? Sounds great. It's very exciting. We're in our middle of our Spirit Week, and welcome back from the vacation. And of course, if you want to excuse yourself, please do. Next on our agenda, the approval of minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the April 5th, 2023 regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any amendments or additions? Not hearing any. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Minutes are approved. Next is our superintendent's report.
Thank you. A few items for superintendent's report tonight. So we've had several budget presentations over the past few months. We presented our proposed budget last time, April 5th. And we will have a budget hearing for the public May 3rd, our next board meeting, starting at 6:30. And as part of the budget process, which I kind of alluded to last time, we have Kevin Flores here from the high school tonight to talk about the new high school offerings for 23-24. Come on up, Kev.
We're going to want to get our camera rotated to our speaker as well.
Thank you, Dr. Duca, Board of Education. We have a few new course offerings at the high school for next year that I'd just like to give you some background on. The first course is AP Human Geography. The target grade level for this course is our 9th graders. There are some prerequisites that come through with this course. We are looking for students who have achieved a 90% or above in Regents Earth Science and Algebra 1 in 8th grade. This shows that they can handle a significant workload. They must also have achieved a 95% or higher in 8th grade history and English classes, as well as a teacher recommendation. Those prerequisites may change as the course continues on through the years, but with this being the first year, those are the prerequisites. AP Human Geography is organized around major themes of human interactions within a shared world. It focuses on the questions where and why. Where do people live? Why or how do cultures influence human behavior? 7 topics explored in the course are geography, its nature and perspectives, population, cultural patterns and processes, political organization of space, agricultural and rural use, land use, industrialization and economic development, and cities and urban land use. This course is based on the syllabus developed by the College Board for AP Human Geography. I will note that the completion of this course fulfills the 9th grade social studies requirement for the first half of the global history and geography coursework. Additionally, in 10th grade, students can move to global history regions or AP World History 2. Just some additional notes about this course. The course introduces students to the systematic study of patterns and processes that have shaped human understanding, use, and alteration of the Earth's surface. Students will employ spatial concepts and landscape analysis to examine human social organization and its environmental consequences. AP Human Geography is designed to mirror an entry-level college introduction to human geography course. Students should expect nightly homework, reading and/or writing assignments. They should also expect a challenging but engaging classwork. Students will be prepared to take the AP Human Geography exam in May, and students are eligible for college credit for successfully completing the exam, but the AP exam does not impact their Ballston SPA grade point average. The next course offering is Turning Points in U.S. History. This is a social studies elective. The target student population is grades 11 and 12. Prerequisites are successful completion of Global 9 and Global 10. Turning Points in U.S. History examines changes and trends in American society through the lenses of the Civil War, World Wars I and II. These events affected various groups socially, economically, and politically. Knowing what these events are, how they came about, and their effect is essential to grasping the full story of the United States. It may even offer clues as to where America is headed in the coming years and decades. Using documents, reading, and various visuals, students will form a greater understanding of how these events promoted change in our country. And again, it is a semester-long course culminating in a project that will be due at the end of the class and will serve as the final summative assessment. There will be several choices offered to students that they can focus on. Next course offering is a course called Algebra A. Again, the student population target is grade 9. This course is the first year of a 2-year Common Core algebra curriculum. The main topics covered are variables, equations, operations with integers, formulas, graphing, linear and exponential functions, and problem-solving skills. The course is designed for students who have shown some proficiency in basic mathematics skills. Students enrolled in this course generally are unable to grasp algebraic concepts at a rapid pace and require greater maturation before progressing to geometry. The course will also allow students to complete, again, Algebra 1 at a slower pace over 2 years. It allows students to learn concepts on sets, variables, open sentences, and operations with numbers of arithmetic, ratio, proportion, percent, measurement, area, and volume. Students will also learn the relationship between word problems and open sentences, order symbols, and concepts. This course is the beginning of the preparation for the New York State Common Core Regents exam in algebra. It will follow the first half of the Algebra Common Core Learning Standards as adopted by New York State, and a local final exam will be taken at the end of the course. And the fourth and last new course offering will be College Career Financial Management. The target student population for this course are students in grades 11 and 12. During the first half of this year-long course, students will explore career options and steps needed to prepare for a career. Students will develop a portfolio that includes personality profiles, interest and value assessments, a resume and cover letter. In addition, students will learn job application and interviewing tips. Financial literacy is stressed during the second half of the course, as students learn subject areas needed to manage their economic future, including financial planning, banking, credit, retirement planning, and investing. Just an additional note on the college and career course. In terms of need, we understand that many students don't necessarily fully understand all of the financial decisions that they'll be making, including whether to attend college and what they should specialize in. Many students have to borrow and finance their education, but don't necessarily fully understand financial aid, loans, debt, credit, inflation, budgeting, and credit scores. So this course hopes to expand upon those topics. That is all of the course offerings. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Any questions from the board members?
I have two questions.
Sure.
My first question is it logical to assume that next year we will be hearing about Algebra B?
Yes.
Okay.
So the plan is to incorporate Algebra B in that second year as the continuation of that 2-year course.
Okay.
Yes.
And for the AP Human Geography, is the targeted the only option, or because it's new, those juniors and seniors who might be interested in it, is it an option for other grade levels, or you just want to start?
It is just 9th grade.
Okay.
Yep. And again, in terms of those prerequisites, those are the prerequisites that are set. But we are also, again, looking for teacher recommendations. So there is some, fluctuation that we can certainly grant. We have open enrollment. So those students who wish to challenge that, we can certainly consider those.
Thank you.
Yep.
I don't need an answer to this question, but just maybe something to consider. Perhaps in the future, if Algebra A is successful, that maybe it could be offered at the 8th grade level to allow 8th graders and 9th graders to then advance in some of the math sequences as they go along.
Any other questions? Thank you much, Mr.
Okay.
Flores.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Duca, continue.
I have one more update. So it has to do with these stop arm cameras. We've had instances of vehicles passing stopped buses, and we have a number of our buses that are equipped with the stop arm camera. And so training was taking place, and so what we've done is we've turned the buses that have the stop arm camera have been activated, and we've tried to shuffle the buses around routes that have had complaints in the past with some heavy traffic and people passing those stop arm cameras. So hopefully that starts to curtail, and we'll continue to move forward and try to equip as many of the buses as possible with the stop arm camera. Yeah, I went over briefly.
Okay, any questions on the superintendent's report?
Just want to say thank you very much for the stop on cameras, getting that program rolling. I know there's lots of parents in the district that appreciate that. Thanks.
Next on our agenda, the committee reports, and I don't think we have any. No committee reports. Correspondence to the district.
The district received 3 emails, one regarding stop arm camera, 2 regarding student matters, and 1 phone call regarding the traffic pattern.
And correspondence to the board since the last meeting. The board has received roughly 49 emails, and I'll explain my hesitancy in a moment. So prior to today, the board received 2 emails. One was support for handling the threat that occurred, and the other was regarding the stop arm cameras and cars passing school buses. During the course of today, the board received approximately 47 emails, and this is maybe as of 6:30, regarding the book challenge, and all were in support of keeping the book available in our high school library. Announcements, Mr. Williams.
Good evening. The students out at our TechSmart facility in our Early College High School program will be participating in a semiconductor day on Friday. It's open to the public. It's sponsored by Hudson Valley Community College as well as some area organizations and businesses like Applied Material and Global Foundries. In the morning, there's an open discussion talking about the industry and its effects in the area and the economy, that type of thing. But the afternoon is for the students to actually participate in a series of workshops. So it's open to the public. If anybody's interested, there is a green flyer in the back, and we have information on our website as well. Our robotics team is going to be hosting their annual event next Tuesday night. It's a mac and cheese pizza tasting event where they try to determine the best tasting mac and cheese and pizza in Ballston Spa. And they invite all the area businesses to participate, and everybody's welcome to come and to help them decide who is the winner of the best tasting mac and cheese or pizza. They also run a silent auction at the same time, so they do have a variety of objects here, baskets and similar types of prizes that are available for people to bid on, as well as it's a silent auction online, so you can bid from home as well. So that's on Tuesday the 25th. On Thursday, you heard the girls mention the IB project showcase that's going to occur in the middle school cafeteria. It starts at 6 o'clock, and it's where our 8th graders will be demonstrating some of the things that they've learned this year and presenting their projects and different, some foods, some projects that they did on the different countries that they're interested in. So again, that's on Thursday night, the 27th at 6 o'clock. Again, open to the public, and it's in the middle school cafeteria. Next Thursday and Friday, we are hosting the Suburban Council Music Festival here at the high school, so it'll be very busy. We have over 300 students involved from 16 different school districts, so they'll be taking over the high school pretty much next Friday afternoon and all of Saturday. There is a public performance on Saturday at 2 p.m. It's open, again, and free for the public to attend, so if you'd like to see a very nice concert, there's 3 or 4 different groups performing, but it is involving over 300 kids from the area high schools. And then just a quick update on the Wellness Expo, the registration for both the 5K run and the fun run for the children. The registration links are now open, so if you check on the website, you can follow through to register for those. The volunteer link is not open yet. They're going to try to get that up and running tomorrow. So if you're interested in volunteering and helping out with any part of that day, again, that's May 13th when we do our district-wide Wellness Expo. And I guess your next meeting is May 3rd, so that's it.
Any other announcements from board members? From the district? All right, next is old business. Do we have any old business, Dr. Duca?
We do not from the district.
Okay. Old business from members. Moving on to new business. I have a motion to approve resolution number 506, the adoption of the 2023-2024 school budget.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 506 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 507, the property tax report card.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Jason.
Yes.
Just want to make a comment, because this is a very good document. Obviously, it's mandated by New York State, so it's got a lot of format to it. Just for the for board members and for the audience, the one that I'd like to key in on is the unrestricted fund balance as a percentage of total budget. Last year it was 3.37%. This year it'll be 3.13%. The goal is to keep that under 4%. That is per New York State guidelines. And when the district has done a very good job of doing that, partially, so think of that as our savings account, rainy day fund. We need money to go, and that's how much we have in reserve as a percentage. Obviously, the dollar amount is listed above there. But the reason why we can do that is because we manage our reserve fund so well, and anticipation in our long-range planning. So I just wanted to highlight that. Because it sometimes gets lost in all the busyness of the numbers. So thank you very much for paying attention to all those numbers.
Thank you. Any other comment? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 507 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 508, NYS MEC electricity.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 508 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 509, NYS MEC natural gas.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 509 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 510, agreement, professional services.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 510 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 511, budget transfers.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 511 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 512, award of bid, auto, truck, and bus parts.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 512 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 513, award of bid, safety and security film.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 513 passes. May I have a motion to approve resolution number 514, scholarship change?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 514 passes. May I have a motion to approve resolution number 515, book review?
So moved. Second.
Now it's time for discussion. Just for clarity's sake, this motion is for the Board of Education to uphold the determination of the review committee and the superintendent and deny the appeal of the requester. I'd like to start conversation. Mr. Ryan?
Thank you, board members. So I have some comments that I would like to share about my thought process on this topic. But before I get into the details, I would like to start at the end by giving you a summary of my opinion in kind of like bullet point fashion. The book Genderqueer was challenged for its inappropriateness in the high school library collection because it contains sexually explicit content, explicit being the key word. This book review was not a proposed book ban due to it being related to themes of gender identity or LGBTQ+ studies. The term book ban being used in the media does not foster the discussion that this topic needs. There's no one rating system for books as there is for TV shows and movies. But the book service Tidal Wave used by the district lists the audience level for this book as adult and from the publisher age 16. If you search Genderqueer on Amazon, click on the book title, scroll down to the product details section, it shows reading age 18 years and up. Go ahead, check it out while I continue. While the book Genderqueer is unique in its themes and presentation, that uniqueness does not allow it to contain inappropriately sexually explicit material for a high school library. This book is available through the public library in Ballston Spa, and there are other books in the high school library collection that address similar gender identity issues. While a library collection should afford all students the availability to materials that interest and would benefit them, it should not do so without consideration of the potential harm to other younger students. That was my summary. So I will now get into some of the details. I first want to thank the community for their patience during this book review process. It has taken almost a year to complete, largely due to changes in the administration, but ultimately, this was the board's responsibility. I've given a lot of thought about this resolution and this book appeal. When a parent read parts of the book Genderqueer that he deemed inappropriate out loud at the Board of Education meeting in April 2022, my first thought was, what is he doing? If he wanted the board to review the book content, we could certainly do so by reading it ourselves. I must admit, I was a little upset. From a common sense approach, I thought, okay, I am not sure how books get approved to be included in the library, but this one sounds like it's not appropriate for a school setting, even a high school. The parent completed the form request for review of library materials and specifically answered the following question. To what in the work do you object? And his response was, and I quote, graphic statements describing sex acts, images depicting children engaged in sexual activity. Nowhere in this book review request was the topic of gender identity or LGBTQ+ themes discussed or challenged. After hearing the parents' comments at the Board of Education meeting and reviewing the written request, I had a good understanding of his concern. A review committee was formed to read and address the book. And I do want to pause for a moment since a comment was raised that this was a secret committee since its members would not be made known to the public. I do not believe this is an appropriate characterization of this committee. It was formed in good faith by the district to conduct this book review, but their decision as a committee should not impact them individually. That responsibility falls on this board, hence the discussion tonight. I was a little surprised at the committee's decision to keep the book in the library collection, but I tried to stay impartial as the review process ran its course. I will say that the book as a whole does have many positive attributes that the author expresses from their childhood memories through adulthood. I can see the benefits of this book for certain students as I gained some insight as well. The main takeaway for me was a conversation between the author and a friend. The author, who was born cisgender female, but never felt comfortable as a female, and the friend, who was a transgender male. The friend asks, so why do you identify as non-binary rather than a trans man? The author responds, because really, I want people to be as confused about my gender at all times. I don't want a beard, I don't want my voice to change, I don't want more gendered traits, I want less. For me, this was very informative and a good summary of the book's message. I do agree with the review committee's assessment that the explicit sexual content is between two adult cisgender females and not children. I can understand the confusion, however, since the author jumps around the childhood adult timeline quite a bit throughout the book, kind of like a Quentin Tarantino movie. So how do we gauge what is explicit and inappropriate content? A friend of mine who is raising teenagers has what he calls the grandmother rule, and he uses it when his children want to listen to songs with explicit content. The rule is, if you would not feel comfortable printing out the lyrics to the song and speaking them to your grandmother at the dinner table, then it's not an appropriate song for you to listen to. So applying the grandmother rule to this book, I would ask any community member if they would be comfortable having their 14-year-old child reading or showing the sexually explicit text and images in the softcover book here, pages 166 to 167, to their grandmother at the dinner table. Something to think about. While this book, Genderqueer, is unique in that it is a graphic novel written as an autobiographical memoir on the topic of non-binary gender identity and asexualism, that does not mean its uniqueness allows it to contain inappropriate age material for the high school population as young as 14 years old. This book is appropriate to be in a public library, just not a high school library. In fact, this book is part of the library collection available to the Village of Ballston Spa Public Library, so any high school student who wishes to read this book has that option available to them. The author chose to include certain sexually explicit text and images that make this work of art appropriate for adult audiences. Similarly, directors of the many Marvel and DC superhero movies purposely refrained from certain topics like sex, nudity, profanity, etc., in order to appeal to a wider, younger audience. Choices and consequences. A more relevant example would be the TV series Euphoria, which contains themes that are relevant to teenage struggles. I lost my mind here. To teenage struggles, but also contains inappropriate content for teens under 17, hence its TV MAA rating, mature audiences only. The creator of the show had the following to say on this topic. A 17-year-old has had very different experiences than a 14-year-old, and because of that, you can show more explicit content and still be effective while communicating your message. The point I'm trying to make is, if a work of art contains sexually explicit content, then it is not appropriate for a high school library, regardless of its value as a memoir, work of fiction versus nonfiction, graphic novel versus movie, or being unique. I am not naive that high school students have access to much more inappropriate material through their phones and TV streaming services. The sexually explicit content in genderqueer pales in comparison to what is available on the internet. However, schools limit that too. It is okay to say genderqueer is a book that provides value and benefit to students that may be struggling with their gender identity, but it is not appropriate for a high school library based on the content that the author chose to include in its memoir. If the district wanted to show an R-rated movie in a classroom as part of a curriculum, it would seek parental input and permission. I do not see a distinction between this and sexually explicit content in a book, any book. If I have not successfully been able to convince my fellow board members that this sexually explicit content in the book Genderqueer is not appropriate for the Ballston Spa High School Library, then I would request that the district place the book on reserve and available only with parent caregiver permission. This practice has been done in other school districts. I understand the concern that some parents and caregivers may not be open-minded about the gender identity themes of the book, but that is not the point of the book being on reserve. Its sexually explicit content is the issue. This next section is just from today because when I wrote this, it said 25 emails today. Now it's 47 emails. I think I read every one of them today. The board has received these 47 emails in support of keeping the book Genderqueer in the high school library. The main theme of these emails was, do not ban books. Ban books, used a lot. The district already provides parents with a mechanism for limiting specific books so that their child can check out. No particular parent or small group of parents should be able to decide what is available or appropriate for the children of others to read. And one email stated, with a little bit of sarcasm, I'm confused as to why no books are being banned that discuss straight sex. So taking this feedback into account, I would like to clarify a few things. The words book ban are not listed anywhere in the discussion of Resolution 515. I have mentioned this previously, but will reiterate that this book review was challenged by a parent for the inappropriateness of sexually explicit content, particularly for the younger high school age group. This book was not being challenged due to themes of the book such as gender identity or LGBTQ+ topics. Yes, parents may request that their child not be able to check out a specific book. However, books are still available on the library shelves with unrestricted access. Since this book would be unrestricted in the library, any child that enters the library would have access to it. The converse position would be, why is it okay for the district to allow access to books with sexually explicit content, but limits internet access, does not allow R-rated movies without parental consent, does not allow music with inappropriate offensive explicit lyrics at school shows or sporting events. Even the recent play, Mean Girls, put on by the high school group, had a PG-13 rating right on the playbill cover. The sexually explicit content appropriateness that I have discussed applies to all books, including the ones that pertain to straight sex. As previously stated, while a library collection should afford all students the availability to materials that interest them and would benefit them, it should not do so without the consideration of potential harm to other younger students. I support different viewpoints and critical thinking. If any student, parent, staff, or community member would like to discuss with me their thoughts about this topic and my vote tonight, then I welcome that conversation. Based on my preceding comments, I shall vote nay for Resolution 515, as I do not believe the Board of Education should uphold the determination of the review committee and the superintendent regarding this book review. Thank you to my fellow board members for allowing me to express my concerns on this issue.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Ryan. Mr. Turbiak.
Yes. In just a few moments, we'll be voting on the resolution regarding this review of library materials. The book in question has been the central point of a nationwide discussion, one that can easily be described as tumultuous and controversial. We have heard a variety of differing opinions, especially strong ones. While I have my own strong opinion regarding the banning of library materials, I also recognize, as a board member, I must put that aside in judging the content and context of this book as a whole and the appropriateness of its placement in our library. Thankfully, I have the district's written policy regarding library materials to help guide my decision, and I am able to reference similar cases throughout our country. It is with that in which I can confidently say my decision to vote to keep this book in our library is driven by policy and not personal opinion. With all this said, I would be remiss not to address the book, Genderqueer, and the great benefit a book like this can have. When we were tasked to read this book for this appeal, I will happily say that I was looking forward to it. I have always been a fan of memoirs for the unique perspective it provides the reader. Understanding this to be from the perspective of a non-binary individual, I was concerned I would not be able to relate to the subject matter, but still went into it with an open mind. After finishing the book, I discovered that I could not be more wrong. The journey into the author's own self-discovery, while not exactly the same as my own, is beyond relatable. I picked up a book which I expected to be geared exclusively to the LGBTQ+ community, and I discovered one which people from all walks of life can find great benefit. As a straight, cisgendered white male, I recognize the fact there are a number of different perspectives and lived experiences which I will never truly understand nor fully comprehend. I do, however, hold a sense of responsibility to hear the voices of those with experiences different from mine, and at the bare minimum, show empathy toward their viewpoints rather than put them down. There is a great need, now more than ever, to uplift stories like the one told in Genderqueer. This story is useful for those who may question their own identity, as well as for those who may seek a better understanding of that perspective. We need stories like this as a viable resource. While I can empathize with the concern over specific content found within the book, we also must not cherry pick and take into consideration the context of the content as a whole. I grew up with a great appreciation for literary classics such as To Kill a Mockingbird, Catcher in the Rye, and Slaughterhouse-Five. If we went through these novels, we would also find graphic content which many would find questionable. Today, we revere these stories for the context as a whole, and we should give the same consideration and respect when we look at Genderqueer. Ultimately, we would be doing a disservice to our students if we so happen to remove this book. Our library policy encourages stories like this to be shared, and I am proud to stand by my decision to keep it in our library.
Thank you, Mr. Turbiak. Mr. Dreher, do you have any comment?
Defer to her.
After reading the book Genderqueer multiple times, I am choosing to vote to keep it in the high school library. Someone viewing the images in this book without reading the context in which they are used could perceive them as provocative. However, since we do not share a common set of values in each of our homes, as a board member, I feel that it is my responsibility to ensure that we allow families to make this choice on their own. Parents or guardians who do not wish their child to borrow this book or others from the library have the right to make that request to the librarian or principal. I was deeply moved when I read the numerous emails addressed to the Board of Education this week. One parent's comments stood out. Books are a huge part of learning. They encourage imagination and understanding, both necessary to grow into a productive adult. Sadly, some people would take away the opportunity to learn by banning books. For those students who don't know how they fit into the world, books are a lifeline. They open up the whole world to discovery and show that there is a place for our children. Books can inspire, and for some, they can also provide comfort. What no book can do is change your gender. I do want to clarify and agree with what Law stated, that it is a book challenge, not a book ban, but I do think the sentiments of this parent are worth noting. I am very proud of our district for providing the necessary due process that led to tonight's resolution. I am honored to serve with my fellow board members. You are each role models for our children, the parents and the staff within our district, and you each demonstrate the ideals of democracy and of civil discourse. So thank you very much. I am voting to keep the book in our district.
Thank you.
Sure. So I do want to start by saying that I'm going to vote to keep the book in the library. I want to thank everyone who was involved in the very careful and thorough multiple reviews that this book went through. So thank you to the members of the original committee, thank you to Dr. Duca, and thank you to my fellow board members for our thoughtful and careful conversation about this book. And I want to thank the members of the community who have written and have spoken today in careful and respectful and mostly courteous ways, because that is exactly the kind of model of conversation that our students need to see in action. And so I just want to make that thank you very public and very clear. This book has value in all sorts of ways on a library shelf. This book has value, folks have already talked about it, being if you're someone who has been uncomfortable with your body, if you're someone who has struggled to talk to somebody who has a crush on you, if you're someone who doesn't know what to wear, if you're someone who is an adolescent trying to figure out how to stick up for yourself, this is a book that a lot of students in our high school could potentially identify with and need. And it's a book that speaks very specifically to a group of our students that we know are most vulnerable in many ways. So our LGBTQ students, who we know have higher rates of suicide, higher rates of victimization, and higher rates of bullying. So it's even more important for that group of students specifically to see themselves represented on our library shelves. While I understand and appreciate the concerns about the explicit sexual content that is in some pages of this book, that to cherry pick that out of the many pages of the book, I think does the book a disservice. And I think our high school students are more than mature enough to handle this kind of content. And it's our job to prepare them for that kind of content, because the world is complicated, and I think taking books away from shelves does not ultimately serve their education. So I will vote to keep this book on the library shelves.
Thank you. Ms. Whitmore?
So I, first of all, would like to thank the community as a whole, whether you emailed, whether you spoke in the past year about this topic. We are listening. We may not agree, but we listen. And that's very important for the community to understand, is we are here to represent the community as a whole, and we do take into consideration what you say. I personally have read this book 3 times. I have learned so much, and I, as an educator myself in a different district, have found I am better able to support my students after reading this book. So after reading the book Gender Queer, It is an interesting personal memoir about a person who struggles with their own identity and creates a unique perspective for students struggling with the same situation. This book is not part of any curriculum. No one is forced to read this book. I will be voting to keep the book.
Thank you. So I'm just going to restate again something I said in my opening remarks, that specific to the book in this resolution tonight, I want to make it clear that the book in question is a library book, available as a reference or resource for any student who voluntarily wants to access it by checking it out or reading it in the library. It is not part of any curriculum or class, nor at any point is it a required reading material for any student. The first consideration for me was, is there any content in the book that is illegal under state or federal laws? The board met twice with district legal counsel and was told by counsel that there was not any illegal material. After a complete reading of the book, it is my opinion that the images and words viewed in the context of the entire book that are of a mature nature are spoken by adults and show actions by adults. These images and words are part of the overall literary and artistic value of the book. I find nothing to support the assertion that minors are depicted in any illegal or inappropriate way. This school district, being a public institution funded by taxpayers from the entire public of our community, and in fact New York State, as we receive New York State funding, and being representative of our entire community, should have material that is supportive and has educational value for all members of our student population. Just as our community has straight, gay, bi, cisgender, transgender, non-binary, and asexual adult members, it also has straight, gay, bi, cisgender, transgender, non-binary, and asexual young adults who attend our schools. I am proud to represent the community standard that believes that we are here for all of our students. I am proud to represent the community standard that believes that none of our students should be made to feel ashamed or marginalized for who they are. In the fall of last year, when this board voted to affirm federal and state civil rights protections, we were told by a small minority in our community what dangers we had put our students in. Well, those dangers never materialized. There are a number of things that I worry about in regards to our students. Near the top of that list is what is available to them on the internet and what occurs in social media postings and discussions. The availability of this book in our high school library that describes the author's gender identity journey and sexual identity journey in a manner that is supportive of non-binary and asexual young adults is not something that I am worried about. there any other comments?
Jason, I was listening to the public comment. One thing that I remembered at the time that this was brought up a year ago, we also had comments from the book Lawn Boy that was read at the public meeting. Was that book on our library shelves at that time? And have we since removed that book from the library collection?
So per our policies, books would only be removed or be considered for challenge if a appeal, a challenge to the book's existence was made. The Lawn Boy book, no challenge was made.
Okay, I thought it, my recollection was different on that. So that book is still in the collection.
As far as I know.
Okay.
The community member read from that book, but did not appeal that book. The only appealed
For this one? Okay.
gender.
We've had a number of comments, public comments, about a number of books. The actual challenge or any actual action is started by a formal appeal, as the policy states.
Okay. I can clarify that later. I thought it was the district voluntarily chose to remove it from the collection. So I'll double check that. Thank you.
Any other discussion, questions?
I will say that in the almost 3 years as a board member, I've always took the community, the public, as number one of the decisions that I make. I give a lot of respect to the passion that the parents that are wanting to ban the book. But I've always said to everybody when I speak that whether you voted for me or not, it's always about the community as a whole. It isn't my right. It isn't for me to tell any parent in this community to ban a book from them, whether you agree with me or not. It's just something that I can't, in good conscience, tell another parent in this community that we're going to ban a book. It's just not who I am. I've always been, again, the community as a whole, and for the students to take a book away from somebody that is confused or that might want to identify or relates to, and that book is there in the public, in the high school library, I feel that that should be granted to them. It's been a very difficult time since we've had to review this a couple times. I've read the book 2 to 3 times, and it's been very hard, but that's my standpoint.
Thank you for your comment. Any other comment or discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions? Resolution number 515 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 516, placement of students with disabilities.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
I have a motion to approve resolution number 517, placement of preschool students with disabilities.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Resolutions number 518 through 527 are recognized as a consent agenda for the purpose of Board of Education action. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, resolutions number 518 through 527.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolutions number 518 through 527 pass the consent agenda. We do have tonight 2 walk-on resolutions. They are resolution number 528, purchase of school vehicles proposition, and resolution number 529, Ballston Spa Public Library proposition. So every year as part of the budget, there is the main budget vote, and then there are also propositions that are attached to it. That's what these walk-on resolutions are. Due to oversight, they were not in a previous agenda, so district is asking that we consider and approve and have these walk-on resolutions be part of our discussion. So, or have action taken upon tonight. May I have a motion to walk on resolution number 528, purchase of school vehicles proposition, and resolution number 529, Ballston Spa Public Library proposition?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ability to walk on for action, resolutions 528 and 529 passes. May I have a motion to approve resolutions number 528, purchase of school vehicles proposition?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 528 passes. May I have a motion to approve resolution number 529, Ballston Spa Public Library proposition?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 529 passes. Any other new business from the district?
No.
New business from members? Okay. We are now at the time in our agenda for our second public comment period. We do have a number of public commenters. The guidance that I read at the beginning of the first public comment period is still in effect. I ask again that speakers please address their comments to the entire board as a whole, not to any particular board member or member of our administration. Let's make sure that we have our camera working and then focused on the podium, and our mic is working. And please, speakers, make sure you adjust the microphone so that you hear yourself. And again, after the 2-minute mark, I will be giving people a request to please wrap up your comments. First up, Chris Dubuque.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Chris Dubuque, Kaling Drive. I have another controversial topic to discuss, so I'm giving anybody in the audience a chance to exit. All right, you've been warned. Volunteerism. We have Wiswall Park coming up. There's some great plans we're planning on doing. I know there was a request for days, maybe to get the football team to volunteer. We got a couple cleanup days already on the calendar in mind, and everybody here, it's great to see people show up for what they care about in the library, but I would love to see just as many people show up with the work we need to get done in Wiswall Park. Again, I think I see a few that were at the meeting for Woods Hollow. I know you like using those trails, and equally we do like our Wiswall Park in the village as well. So the days we have, and everybody here did read speeches from their cell phone, so I know you have access to calendars on your cell phone, so feel free to mark these down. June 2nd, June 3rd, June 4th. June 2nd, we're planning to oversee mulch delivery and cover annuals we may have to pick up. June 3rd, we're really going to need all the hands on deck. That's work to oversee volunteers, including hopefully the Ballston Spa High School football team, to carry some heavy bags of mulch. And again, we're looking at 9 o'clock assembly, 9:30 once we get everybody organized to help with that task. June 4th, we're just going to finish some last items sweep walkways, clean up discarded debris. So again, I know it's a busy time of year for a lot of people. You're going away, but you're in luck. There's 3 days we need help. Anybody who can't show up, we are looking to replace the benches there. We are looking for donations. Any amount given will be more than appreciated. I know I had reached out about the pavers as well. Again, it's been commented the ones in front of the high school are amazing and have stood up the test of time and the test of traffic. We are looking to put something similar in, again, in Whistle Park, and hopefully we'll put together a program for that as well for anybody who would like to donate time or money for that. So again, we don't yet have a full contact. I will be hanging around after, though, so anybody in the crowd or from the board who's interested in signing up for any of those days, feel free to reach out to me. I'll get your contact information or fill you in on any further questions or details you may have. And again, I know you're busy, but any response on those pavers anytime soon would be greatly appreciated. All right, thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next up, Josh Ness.
Hey there, can you hear me okay? I'm a resident of the village, 70 Chapman Street. And I think I kind of misunderstood when I should be doing public comments about what, so I'm here to actually speak about 515. But what I will say, in the resolution, it states that the Board of Education determines that the book provides informative messages on a variety of topics that could be beneficial to all readers, that the themes present in the book provide a unique viewpoint that enhances the overall library offerings for students. And further, the Board of Education asserts that the importance of considering the book as a whole and understanding each image and phrase in context. I bought the book, I read the book. When someone's concerned about not having a book, that piques lots of people's interest, me included. I found it to be very powerful, emotionally and intellectually honest memoir about a young person's life. It was a read that I found both comforting and challenging, and I think that's a really hard balance to strike in a book. I mean, that's, to my mind, the measure of a successful book, and also the measure of a successful library is sort of, having both those elements, comforting and challenging. There's been some of the language that I've heard or seen here too. We're talking about a library or books that appeal to everyone. I'm not sure that's the bar that we want to set. I mean, I don't think there's any book that appeals to everyone. I think a better way to think of it is our goal is that we want a library that everyone can find works that appeal to them. I mean, there is no universally acceptable book. I guarantee that. So rather, I think our standard should be, can everyone find works in here that challenge and comfort them, that inspire them? And to my mind, this book absolutely meets that that standard for a variety of different audiences in ways that some folks have talked about. So I really appreciate that. And thinking about this theme of what would be acceptable to everyone, I think even some books that we would probably think of as non-controversial classics probably could be pretty unsettling. I mean, I was sort of thinking like, all right, what's a non-controversial classic? And Romeo and Juliet kind of came to mind. Like a book or a performance that really everybody reads at some point, or sees the play, whether it's Romeo and Juliet or West Side Story, but you walk through it, right? And it's got promiscuity, it's got lewd language, it's got at least the implication of sex, there's murder, there's apothecary-assisted suicide. I mean, there's plenty of sort of unsettling things in it, but nonetheless, it seems like, yeah, that's absolutely something we want here. Well, I want here. So I really want to appreciate or express my appreciation as a taxpayer, as a parent of 2 children in the district, as just sort of a citizen of New York and of the village, for the board and the superintendent and the libraries for creating this, ensuring this is a space, or doing their best work to make this a space that's comforting and inspiring. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. And I'm a little confused about this next one, if they're actually here or not. Renee Menzie, are you here, or this was just a reference to an email you sent? Someone fill this in? Okay, I don't think they're here. Next, Diane O'Connor.
Good evening. My name is Diane O'Connor. I am the parent of 2 students in the district, both of whom are student athletes. I want to just say that it was a pleasure to see the Ballston Spa varsity wrestlers and coaches Jean and Harvey Stalters honored here at the April 5th Board of Education meeting as the coaches embarked on their well-earned retirement. I believe many residents in our district would agree that the Stalters brothers have built an incredible and, may I say, legendary wrestling program that is the envy of other school districts. After 30 years of coaching, the Stalters brothers have earned their retirement, and I believe their shoes will be difficult to fill. Following the exceptional winning season that the Scotties varsity and JV wrestling teams experienced this past winter season, in which the varsity wrestling team finished 4th in New York State, and several of our varsity wrestlers placed within the top 5 wrestlers within New York State, I would like to respectfully request that the Board of Education and Dr. Duca please take all necessary steps to ensure that a wrestling coach is hired without delay. The winter sports season may seem distant at this time. However, our student athletes deserve an opportunity to train with a new coach during the spring, summer, and fall seasons to prepare for another winning winter season. A very dedicated and talented wrestling coach candidate shadowed Coach Harvey and Coach Jean at every practice, wrestling meet, and tournament during the winter season, including the 2 state tournaments that the team participated in. As a parent of 2 young Ballston Spa wrestlers, I hope to see the strong team spirit and winning tradition continue for many years to come. And I believe that begins with the prompt hire of a dedicated and experienced coach or coaches for our Scotties wrestling program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Jason Severia.
Jason Severi, 936 Route 67. There's so much to unpack. I definitely don't have 2 minutes. I want to thank you, Lawrence. What you said was absolutely perfect, and I hope the people standing behind me heard you loud and clear. I'm the one that started this book review of genderqueer. I probably have more experience in the LGBT community combined than everybody behind me. I've been to more drag shows than there's people in this room. So my sole purpose for this book review were the images. Your votes tonight set a very dangerous precedent, and I hope it doesn't come back to bite us in the butt, but if it does, you're responsible for it. I think your explanations were purely cowardice. You didn't look at what I objected to in the first place. I agree with you. I agree with the people standing behind me. Aside from the images in this book, it would have been a good book, but I didn't write it. I didn't put those images in there. I have a daughter sitting right there that had to leave the room when somebody just talked about it. Yes, that's my personal opinion, but many of you board members also sat there tonight and agreed that the images in this book were sexually explicit. So you're openly admitting to the public that you agree that there's sexually explicit images in a book that you just voted on to supply to children. There's 2 sheriffs sitting in the back of the room. I fully support our men and women in blue, but I wish they would come up here and arrest each one of you. You openly admit that there are sexually explicit images in this book.
Can you please conclude your remarks?
And you agreed to supply it to our kids. Shame on every one of you. But I'm kind of glad. I'm kind of glad that this process went this far, because now I know names and faces of each person that I'm going to keep my kids away from.
Thank you for your comment. Next, Frank Rossi.
Frank Rossi Jr., 63B Saratoga Avenue. First off, regardless of feelings or thoughts on either side of the aisle on this one, I just want to applaud the community for a generally positive, vibrant debate. I want to compliment all of you for taking the moment seriously, stopping, explaining. It's important, and so thank you to all of you for the service you provided tonight to the community. I want to thank Jason and Law for both attending our village board meetings and setting a standard there as well. It was great seeing your involvement, your concern about the community. We're going to get Duca there to talk about the school district very soon, hopefully. So we'll be there. I want to talk tonight, though, about some of the community contributions by your students in the school district, because it has been just really important for us to build community in that way. We were talking about Ms. Thomas's fundraising. I want to actually underscore the fundraising by the athletes of this school especially, and also Malta Avenue with the St. Baldrick's event that Steve and Becky Cook are very, very instrumental on. The boys lacrosse team was the lion's share of this, and go Scotties on the field this season as a result of getting about $15,100 on our team for St. Baldrick's for cancer research. Coach Bryant, with his Malta Avenue team, got about $3,600 in addition to that. That's just incredible fundraising for such an important situation there. Thank you to them. Thank you to all the athletes for what they do back to the community and all the students generally. I want to give one last shout out here to the Odyssey of the Mind team from Malta Avenue. We had a parent reach out this week asking for some help in terms of getting a fundraiser together. We linked them up with the Ballston Spa Business and Professional Association. I'm happy to announce that on May 5th, during a First Friday event at Wiswall Park, the Odyssey of the Mind team will be selling Stewart's ice cream and some other stuff from B-Spa in Wiswall Park for fundraising for that Michigan State trip. And then the next day, it sounds like on May 6th, they're going to be joining Rotary and Friends of the Cateras for a cleanup event on the Romano Trail in Kelly Park. Giving in both directions, that epitomizes the relationship here between the school district and our village. I want to thank you for setting the standard and for making this such a great community for us.
Thank you for your comment. Keith Lewis.
Good evening. My name's Keith Lewis, Ballston Spa, 38 East High Street. My family's been contributing to the school district finances for almost 4 decades. And I was the executive producer and co-originator of a documentary called For the Bible Tells Me So, that was a intersection of 5 conservative Christian families and their gay children, how they came to terms or didn't come to terms with those gay children. In 2007, we were a grand jury nominee at Sundance. We were also banned in some schools. We were picketed in theaters throughout Utah when we actually got distribution. We were shortlisted for an Academy Award. We were named by Entertainment Weekly as one of the 5 films that changed the world. So the subject of the book tonight was especially close to me because I'm able to look back of almost 20 years, 15 years, and be able to see where we were at that time and how we were viewed at that time. And there's a few statistics I wanted to just share, and I appreciate all the families coming out. It's difficult. It's important to have the conversation. It's important to be heard on all sides. And it's nice to have a place at the table, no matter what the opinion is. A couple of statistics that stood out was 75%, this is New York Times, January 10th, 75% of 17-year-olds have viewed pornography online, with the average age of the first exposure at being 12. The Trevor Project, which works to stop suicide among LGBTQ youth say that 45% of 21 and under have seriously considered suicide in the last year. 80% of transgender have thought about it, 40% have attempted it. And they also found LGBTQ youth found that their school to be affirming, they had less of a chance of committing suicide if they found that their school was affirming. And I just want to share one email that we got, that our director got from a young man who was struggling with his sexuality outside Omaha, Nebraska. And he said, "Last week, I bought the gun. Yesterday, I saw your film. Today, I threw the gun in the river, and now my mom never needs to know." Thank you for your decision tonight.
That concludes our second public comment. Do we have any of our associations here tonight for statement? Do we have PTA updates?
Just a couple announcements, carry over from the previous announcement from the previous meeting. Milton Terrace PTA is held in their next meeting on April 27th. Wood Road is hosting a talent show on May 5th. They are holding a mandatory meeting tomorrow for all performers. And high school PTSA is looking for people to help serve pizza this Friday at the Spring Fling.
Thank you. And I know the high school PTSA is also reaching out, making preparations, looking for volunteers for the after prom event. And that's always a great event that we can have as an option for our students. And please, again, check the high school website and look for emails if you have high school age students. Any other PTA or announcements? Yes, Law.
Yes, I was in contact with Colleen Russo at the BACC. She's interested in presenting to the board maybe sometime in the near future, May, June timeframe. So I made contacts with her and Dr. Duca to arrange that. She just would like to go over the offerings that they have, and I said we would more than welcome it. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Any other announcements from the district? All right. Then we are adjourned. Our next meeting will be on May 3rd.
Motion.
Motion.
Yes.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.